too much. My friend Marcel lent me this rainbow flag for a TikTok, and I thought, why not have it in a video as well? Why not? What did you do when your heart got broken for the first time? Or are you part of the lucky few people who have never had their heart broken? After my first girlfriend Cindy broke up with me, I fell into a hole. I became incredibly depressed and self-destructive. The thing with my ex was that we went from talking every day, all day, to never speaking to each other again. With the end of our relationship also came the end of our friendship. She was also part of the friend group I met weekly, and because it's just too painful to keep meeting her, I stopped seeing my friends too. It was my first heartbreak. I just turned 16. Gangnam Style was playing everywhere, and I have never experienced such emotional pain in my life. From the heartbreak, not Gangnam Style. I was being swallowed up with self-pity, laying in my bed all day, staying up all night, and feeling like crap. I wasn't motivated to do anything besides just laying around. I really couldn't talk about it to anyone either, because I wasn't outed to the majority of my social circles. And it felt like the girl who I once fell in love with, Cindy, just turned into someone who didn't care about me anymore. After a month of my broken heart, I decided to fill it with something else. I was so desperate to get rid of this constant loneliness and sadness. I remembered this girl I met once when I was getting bubble tea with my friends. She was in the same Japanese classes as my ex, but they hated each other. Which sounds like the perfect girl to hit up, you know? I found her immediately on Facebook. Pro stalker skills, guys! Her Facebook profile was her posing with the peace sign and bright red hair. Although she is into K-pop and anime, she dressed rather punk. I mean, weird mix, but okay. I was looking through her profile at like 2 AM in the morning cause I couldn't sleep, per usual. And Rachel was online for some reason, so I decided to hit her up. Until I realized I have never flirted in my life before, so I was going to do my worst. Hey, Rachel. You're cute, do you know that?
Thank you?
Rachel was super suspicious of me hitting her up like that since I was the girlfriend of her arch nemesis. She kept asking if we were trying to prank her, but after trying to convince her for an hour that I'm in fact just bad at flirting and not trying to prank her, and that I would like to meet up with her, she said okay. Let's be honest, the only reason that worked out was because we were both horny teenagers. So we met up the next day and went for a stroll through a really scary looking park at 10 PM. It was way too dark and no one but us were there. Low-key scary as heck. We walked a bit and I tried to keep a conversation, but it was a bit awkward. And Rachel wasn't exactly the type to talk a lot. She just listened with this blank look at her face. And then, I don't know why, I mentioned how I never kissed Cindy with tongue before and wondered how it felt.
Wanna try it?
Excuse me? We sat down at the bench after a bit of walking. I got nervous and stopped talking. For the first time of my life, I stopped talking, huh? Rachel sat next to me on the bench and just stared at me, waiting for me to make a move. So I closed my eyes and went in for the kiss. Honestly though, with 16, I wasn't feeling very comfortable kissing someone I just met. But you know, breakups kinda F you up, and that's the thesis. In the silence of awkwardness after the kiss, I tried to make some random offhand comment about turtle farts. I was very well versed in turtle farts cause my grandparents owned 5 turtles at some point. Rachel got mad that I ruined the mood and stood up to smoke a cigarette. I should have known by then already. If you cannot handle my random offhand comments, you're not going to have a good time with me ever. Rachel complained about being cold as she took a puff from her cigarette. It was fall season, so it did get a bit chilly at night. Maybe she wouldn't have been cold if she didn't smoke so much, I thought to myself. Rachel was a year younger than me, so she was 15. Smoking cigarettes at this age is pretty bad, and I think also illegal. Trust me, worse things are going to happen. Oh my god. We continued strolling through the park when Rachel got a phone call from her gay best friend asking her to come over his place. She asked me if I wanted to come with, and me being completely indifferent since my breakup, I just went with it. When we got to her gay best friend's place, we were greeted by this lanky blonde boy. He was a bit older than us and he greeted us with a bit too much enthusiasm. Behind him was this timid and small Asian tomboy being like,
Hey.
"Oh, I know you from the manga store."
Hey guys, let's spice this night up a little bit, shall we?
What is that?
Just try it, I'll only give you half a glass.
Wait, is that what I think it is?
What? You've never drank before?
Ha! Look at her, Miss Goody Two Shoes.
Now, the country I am from is very, very, very loose with drinking laws and stuff. And I just turned 16. That means that it was legal for me to drink beer and wine and weaker alcohol. But for the stronger liquors, you have to be 18, and I think that one was a stronger liquor. I don't remember, but the way it just sent me means it probably was pretty strong. First time meeting Rachel and already committing crimes. What is this? Life is strange before the storm? I'm not going to hold a lecture about how you shouldn't drink because it's bad for you. That would be hypocritical AF. But instead, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to not die when you first drink. Alright, listen up, kids. First lesson, don't drink on an empty stomach. That was my problem back then. I did not eat for the whole entire day, and then I just downed 2 glasses at once. Which is also the second lesson. Don't drink everything in one go. That's such a bad idea. Do not do this. Do not do this. When you're inexperienced, do not drink stuff in one go. Holy moly, is that a bad idea. Third lesson, do not drink because of peer pressure. Drink because you want to. Fourth lesson, do not mix different kind of liquor. Do not drink whiskey and then a vodka and then a tequila. Do not do this. You will thank me later. And if you are drinking for the first time or first times, have a little sips. Do not drink too much. Walk around maybe, go to the bathroom, because it's always those bathroom breaks where you just realize that the alcohol really hits you, you know? I'm telling you all this because you need to learn your limits very early on, otherwise this is going to happen. After downing my glass, I wanted to prove what a big girl I was and took Rachel's glass and drank half of it too, and from then on I gained the ability to jump forward in time. At least that's how it felt like. I just remembered parts of the night and I would do something and suddenly 3 hours have passed. Turns out I was a very kissy drunk. I grabbed the gay guy for some reason and began making out with him on the floor. Rachel was sitting there with me on the couch, taking care of me while I was confessing my undying love to her over and over and over again. Rachel brought me a bucket to hurl in and I hurled. But that bucket had a hole and everything was on the floor and my pants. And then the tomboy walked in and stepped in it.
Ew, what is this?
I woke up pantsless in gay dude's bed with him on my right side and Rachel on my left side. Then I fell asleep again. I woke up to the gay dude screaming in his sexual identity crisis, claiming to be bi now while running away outside. And Rachel and Tomboy was chasing after him. I was so exhausted I fell asleep again and then I woke up dizzy and even more tired at 2 p.m. I would describe this feeling as going to sleep way too late because you were staying up watching YouTube and accidentally it's 5 a.m. now and then you fell asleep, wake up the next morning feeling all crusty. That feeling times 100, that's how I felt like when I woke up. I found my vomit pants somewhere on the floor, put them on and went home. I was still feeling a bit tired, but I was young enough to not be completely hungover that day. That sounds really problematic. It's getting worse. The story's getting worse. This is God. I couldn't function for the rest of the day. I just laid there and tried to remember what the hell was happening last night. That's when Rachel gave me a call. Which is rare, I never get calls. I was used to communicating solely by text with my ex Cindy. I had Rachel explain last night to me as I barely remember.
You made out with my gay best friend for hours.
Wait, wasn't it just for a second?
No, you guys were on the floor going at it and you made him doubt his homosexuality, so he started running away at 6 a.m. to the nearby cemetery to repent, and we had to chase him all the way down to retrieve him.
What?
I thought the whole time you were just acting drunk, but then you hurled all over the place. By the way, you so owe me because I had to clean all that up while you just took your pants off and fell asleep in his mom's bed.
His mom's bed?
Anyways, don't forget what you told me. I'll see you on Friday then. Text you the address.
Promise?
Gotta go. See you.
What? Rachel sent me her address, which gave me this slight hunch of what's going to happen. But as you might have guessed from my mental state in this story, I'm in no good condition in making any good decisions. Whatever happens, happens. I was a tad early because her mom was still changing to head out. And I'm someone who is very nervous talking to parents because I have a strict AF Asian mom, alright? But it was like Rachel is from a completely different universe than me. Like Rachel's family was this super laid back punk family. Like her mom didn't want me to address her in a formal way. And she wanted me to call her by her first name. That's like, I cannot compute doing that with an adult. That's a sin. Wait, I'm an adult. Oh my god. Her mom was this small woman with a washed out red afro with tattoos and piercings all over her. I didn't even know moms could look so cool.
Hi, what's up? What's your name?
I forgot.
You forgot your name?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Then tell me when you remember. I'm on my way to the concert now, bye.
Really? You forgot your name?
I get nervous.
Okay, whatever.
Rachel's place was dimly lit and smelled like tobacco. I'm really not a fan of smoking, so I was a bit nauseated by this lingering smell all throughout the apartment. Rachel led me into her bedroom where she had a small one-person bed, and she sat down and demanded me to begin. Very romantic.
Hurry!
She didn't know that, but I was a virgin. It was time to put all my hentai knowledge into work here. Yeah, to avoid demonetization, we gotta leave out this part of the story, but it's TMI anyways. The only thing you guys need to know that even though I was a huge virgin, I was still a top. After we were done, we laid there in her bed. Rachel, I gotta confess something to you. That was my first time just now.
Huh? Wait, you mean you didn't do it with Cindy?
Nope, we were pretty much long distance since I was in China.
I'm glad. It was my first time too.
Huh? We laid there laughing as we were just two stupid virgins that tried to act tough. Being each other's first time kind of connected us. We began to hang out more and really liked each other. Although we did keep it very casual and didn't go on dates, most of the time I just went over her place when her mom was gone, and we would just spend the whole night with each other, being awake and stuff because my sleep schedule was fucked, and she had a caffeine addiction. She has quite the addictive personality. Very, very bad. And what do you know, 2 weeks after meeting each other, we became a couple. Cause we thought that's just what you do at this stage. I mean, we were each other's first time, so it gotta be special, right? That relationship went way too fast. I mean, we only knew each other for 2 weeks. Like, dude, I would not let anyone I know for 2 weeks into my apartment. But apparently I'm willing to be their girlfriend after 2 weeks. That makes no sense. What? I didn't know it back then, but this is called a rebound relationship. People try to fill this void in their heart with a new flame. Which is why most rebound relationships go really fast and fail really fast. And I was just so lonely and immature that I made this decision which led me to this point. But I did actually believe I was in love with Rachel after the 2 weeks. And there were multiple reasons as to why I believed that. She was very attractive, I was getting late, and when we became official, she decided to introduce me to her inner circle of friends. Her friend group was, whack. There was the dude who gave me booze that night, big dude with tiny hands, rich girl, and this 30-year-old Asian with a maid outfit and neko ears.
Hello.
Oh yeah, by the way, he told us he strives to be the perfect anime waifu trap. He didn't seem like he was trans because he was very adamant with he/him pronouns and us calling him by his name, Chad. So yeah, that's Chad. He was just very good at cross-dressing because he legitimately looked like a teenage girl. Which is, I don't even know what to say to that. And about this rich girl, I'm calling her that because it was her only character-defining feature besides being mean. Rachel had been talking about this rich girl a lot, which sounded like she liked her, but only when I saw them interacting with another, I realized how much Rachel liked her. We were hanging out at this Asian dude's place. A 30-year-old cross-dressing man with a bunch of underage teenagers spending the night at his place. Ooh. So before I went to his place, I had some Mackie D's and I was feeling incredibly sick from it, trying to keep that burger from exiting sick. Maybe I was just a bit nervous meeting her friends and stuff, but yeah, I thought I could just calm down after a while. I was very unaware of what they were planning to do that evening, which made my nauseousness from the burger so much worse. Their idea of having a fun evening was to look at disturbing videos together. Ever heard of the term NSFW? Not safe for work? You know, kinda sexual images that are a bit too suggestive to look at work. Well, get ready for NSFL. Not safe for life. Content that you should just never look at, under any circumstances. Because no matter where you view this material, you will be scarred forever. I was not ready for this. I didn't know of its existence, no one warned me, I was just thrown in there. Just so you know, I'm someone who cannot stand looking at blood, gory things, disgusting things. I cannot watch any form of horror movies. I'm just a pussy. You are what you eat. We were watching these videos of which the content I would like to spare you of, but let me just tell you that I was very scared of elevators for a very long time. Rachel was sitting beside me completely unfazed by those videos and images. It probably was not her first time doing this, or she was just trying to play it cool. So I reached out and held onto Rachel's hand and tried to look away as much as possible from the screen. When...
Guys, let's watch a Serbian film.
Is that a horror movie?
Oh no, it's even better. Just watch.
That was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I didn't look at this movie and I couldn't even stand listening to this movie and covered my ears throughout. Eventually I didn't even want to be in the same room as the movie, so I fled to the kitchen instead. I heard them laughing and enjoying this movie a lot while I was hiding in the kitchen. La 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 la, I don't hear anything. La 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 la. These people were insane. I came back after the movie ended and we resumed to watching NSFL stuff again. The rich girl that Rachel liked so much really disapproved of me being such a coward. And I noticed Rachel not wanting to be anywhere near me anymore. I was going to hold her hand, but she quickly snapped her hand away when I reached out yelling,
No, I don't want to hold your hand, Captain Anus.
Oh yeah, by the way, Captain Anus was one of the new nicknames they gave me. I sat there and tried not to cry for the rest of the evening. I glanced over to Rachel, hoping she could somehow sense that I wasn't doing so well. Our eyes met for a second as she noticed me looking at her, but she only gave me a cold and disapproving look before going back to looking at the screen. At some point I was wondering why I was even there. So I decided to just go home at 3 a.m. in the morning. I don't know why I didn't leave sooner. Instead, I was sitting there for hours, but I guess I didn't want to disappoint Rachel. While I was sitting in this deserted Nightline bus, I leaned forward to bury my head in my arms and started bawling my eyes out. I kept it all in throughout the evening. I didn't even know it was so bad until I was uncontrollably sobbing. I was not just crying from the horrifying things I saw, but also how Rachel's demeanor towards me suddenly changed in front of her friends. I was still optimistic though, because I was like, hey, as long as we meet each other without your friends, we're gonna be fine, right? But whenever we met from then on, she had that cold look on her face. She didn't smile at me anymore, and it's like in her eyes, I have become worthless now. Even if it's just us two, she would start calling me names or even yell at me for just literally standing too close to her.
Get out of the way, Captain Anus.
I didn't call her out though. I took it all with a smile in fear of losing someone again so soon. It's like Rachel became my school bully that used my body for pleasure. That sounds like a fanfic plot. And she also started doing some very not okay things while we were intimate. And I'm not going into detail here, but it sure caused some sexual trauma for years. 2 weeks of that went by and Rachel called me out of the blue one evening. She told me she wasn't interested in a relationship anymore because I wasn't cool enough, but she still asked me to be friends with benefits with her. I didn't have a lot of boundaries as a teen, but I do have one. I ain't getting downgraded to being someone's toy, what the hell? I said no thanks, and then I hung up and went on my way. Rachel didn't really try to reach out to me, so that was the end of us, probably. I was so hurt. Again. But I knew better than to pursue a girl who treated me like crap. So I said my goodbyes, shed a tear, and moved on. Not just from Rachel, but from Cindy too. And like every girl ready to move on, I went to the hairdresser and decided for a drastic new look. It was scary, chopping off my hair that I kept long throughout my life, but I knew this is something I wanted to do, so I went for it. I think for us women, cutting or dyeing your hair after a breakup is just another way of regaining autonomy over your body after being screwed over, you know? After that disaster of a relationship, I started meeting friends again. It wasn't the same friend group as my ex Cindy was in, because I still couldn't really meet her and look her in the eyes. But I made a lot of other friends. I started to expand my network. In those years, I have made my most long-lasting friendships to this day. What I needed after my breakup was not another relationship, I just needed support. And that is what friends and or family are for. And also hobbies. I started Taekwondo so I could defend myself against people like her. I still thought about Rachel here and there. What happened with her really affected me in a way. But it seems like I still haven't learned my lesson because I went on and dated the next toxic person. And she was even more catastrophic and pretty much almost ruined my life. So you know, subscribe for that. Oh my god.